All right, so we're here with the owner, one of the best owners in the sport. I'm already gonna start sucking up because we're doing the interview. You know what I mean?
One of the lucky owners.
Right. No, but you're. It's nice to say you're Hambletonian Champion.
Yes.
Right.
It is awesome.
In a pretty, I don't want to say brief Hambletonian career, you didn't.
Yeah.
Aren't you guys used to what's the term I'm looking for? Like cut your teeth or pay your dues.
Yes.
You're just like,
yes.
No, we're just year two. We're just gonna read it and win the whole Hambletonian. So how did you kind of start with? Give a quick footnote synopsis of how did you get involved with the horses? Because you're not originally from horses.
No, well, I was born up in Canada, in Toronto.
Yep.
And my grandfather owned a couple of really cheap claimers.
Okay.
So when I was a kid, I'd go and watch the horses, and then my dad and brother owned a couple of horses up in Canada, a couple of pacers.
Right. So you
and
kind
so
of know
I was
about
kind of in it, and I've always been a bettor. I do like to play the horses. And then back in 2007, I decided with my brother to buy a horse and went down to Lexington sale for the first time, which was quite the experience.
So you guys just decided, let's do it? Did you have a trainer in mind? Did you have anybody in mind?
We got recommended a trainer up in Canada, Jason Libby.
Okay.
And so Jason came down with us, and we picked out a rock and roll Hanover filly.
He was all right.
Yeah,
he was all right. He was all right.
It was a small. She was a little bit on the small side. And she turned to be out okay. She won a leg of the Wish Upon a Star up in Canada, finished second in the final, and then the thrill of that year for us, we finished second in the Bluegrass with John Campbell on her. And so
he was all right too.
He was all right too. And then the next year we bought another one, and she didn't turn out. She didn't even make it to the races, and we ended up selling her. And then I decided, I was going to retire from IBM after 36 years, and I love the horses. So I decided, you know what, I'm going to get into it a little bit more. And I got connected with Tony. I got introduced to Tony Alagna. And the first year I bought two horses. And then I got introduced to a couple of the other owners, people like John Federa and Myron Bell, and then hooked up with David Anderson up in Canada, and we started buying a lot more horses. When
you were with IBM, was there any thought of, hey, what am I going to do outside of this? Because when you're immersed in that field, there's probably not much else that you can do.
Absolutely right.
Even though you're probably close to all these racetracks, and there's not much you can do. So at what point with IBM did you be like, you know what? I'm kind of winding down. I know I'm going to retire soon. Did you immediately go into horses, or were you like, I'm going to golf, I'm going to race cars, or was it always horses?
It was always horses and golf are my two passions. I love to golf, and my golf game's improved dramatically.
Okay, I was going to say
my horse ownership has improved dramatically.
Yeah. Are you good at golf, or do you just like to play it?
I'm decent. I'm a single-digit handicap, which is considered pretty good in golf.
How many Can you count on your hands how many golf clubs you've thrown into a lake?
I've never thrown a golf club.
Never, zero.
I've wanted to.
Okay, I've thrown a whole bag. Just the last golf clubs.
If thoughts were there, yes.
Okay.
In actual fact, I haven't.
So you kind of knew, hey, I want to do this horse. Did you ever think about maybe training or even driving some of these, there's amateur drivers. We got to get you in the bike.
No, I leave that to the experts.
Okay.
I really am interested in the pedigree, and being a techie guy, I've always into data, stats, and so I do a lot of research on pedigree. And of course, when you meet up with Myron Bell, you learn a lot from Myron on pedigree. So I've always been a fan of pedigree, and I do a lot of statistics, and I look at the family trees and all of that kind of stuff. And I've learned from people like Myron and David Anderson, who's big on the thoroughbred side. Thoroughbred guys are big on pedigree. And so I just enjoy it. When the book comes out for Lexington, I'll spend literally hundreds of hours.
You're just reading it.
Absolutely. And going through the family trees and the doubles, what they call it. And I go through all of that and pick out the horses that we're interested in and make the list. And then we go take a look. And then I get Tony to take a look at the ones we're interested in.
So then, was it always racing then? Are you going to start doing some breeding
stuff?
No,
we thought about it. And, people ask me, especially when we had Ramona, and I've had a couple of nice fillies, and people say, well, you're going to get in the breeding side. And the breeding side just takes too long. By the time you breed them and they bring them to the races, you're almost on a 3-year journey. And I like the racing side of it. No ifs, ands, or buts. So, And I like the younger horses. So typically the 2 and 3 year olds, at the end of the 3-year-old season, we will typically, sell
rotate
them out. Last year we kept Captain Barbosa. We kept Ramona, tried to get her going as a 4-year-old. She didn't really come back strong as a 4-year-old. And then we sold her to the Crawfords and Hanover Shoe Farm. And she went off to be a broodmare, and she's in foal to Walner.
Okay, so everything's...
So I got to save my money for that foal.
Do you get any sort of discount or no?
No.
If anything, he's been 10% up, right? Yeah,
exactly.
You always want to ascend.
Yeah.
Obviously, you want to get better. Would you rather... Are you trying to... Tony's got a lot of horses. Do you like having a lot of horses, or would you rather have a couple that are quality?
I do like the quality, but it's like I say to people, the friends that are not in the horse business, it's like a mutual fund. You have 10 stocks, and you hope 2 or 3 of your stocks do really well. But I look at the same with the horses. So on average, I'll buy 8 to 10 a year, and I'm hoping 2 or 3 of them that will be decent, and they'll pay for the other ones. And we're pretty quick to assess how they are, and if we don't think they're going to be quality horses, we'll move them on. I don't have a problem with moving horses on. I kind of treat it like a business.
The correct answer was a lot of high quality.
Yeah,
that was the correct answer. It wasn't one or the other. It was both. That was the correct answer.
Okay, I like that answer.
We'll let that one slide. So, obviously one of the goals is Breeders' Crowns and Hambletonians.
Absolutely.
So your first Hambletonian starter was Pilot Discretion.
Yes.
So just take us quick. Where was he one of the horses you big circled in the book, or? Yeah,
he was actually, if I remember, he's at the end of the second day at Lexington, and obviously everyone wanted a Muscle Hill. And the Muscle Hills go for a lot of money.
He was okay too.
Yes.
Yeah.
And this was a Muscle Hill, but it was, when I did the pedigree work on him, I remember talking to Tony, I said, you know what, the mare had 2 foals and then didn't have a foal for 6 years, and then had another foal, a Muscle Hill colt. So I said, Tony, this is kind of strange. And he said, well, who was the owners and everything else? He said, let me go and find out. And she had trouble getting in foal.
Okay.
And they sold her and brought her to a farm that specialized in fertility. And they got her in foal to Muscle Hill. Oh. And the foal was Pilot Discretion. So it was an older mare, but it was only her 3rd foal. And I do believe in the better ones come in the kind of first 5 foals. So this was an older mare, but it was only the 3rd foal. And so we said, you know what, we're going to take a run at him, and we picked him up for $100,000. And he turned out to be a really good bargain for us. And he was a medium size. He was not a big horse by any stretch of the imagination, but he had heart. And when he got going and he had a target to go after, he went after. Good.
And like I said, he was in that upper tier, and obviously that was the last year that we had heats on the same day.
Yes.
So, that year you've got Green Shoe, you've got a bunch of powerhouses from the Lander stable.
Yeah.
You're probably just like, I'm happy to be here.
Exactly.
Right?
I was.
I'm hoping to get a good piece of this thing.
Yeah.
Kind of learn. Tony hasn't won it at this point. He's won every other race.
That's true. Yeah.
So you have to. I don't care what sport it is. You have to you can't. Very rarely do you go from here to here.
Yeah.
You have to learn. Okay, this is what it's like on Hambletonian Day.
Yeah.
It's different. Their timing's different. Their weather's different. A lot of these horses race at night, then they're racing in the day. And this is the first time they're racing in the day, generally.
Yeah.
Later in the season we are. But there's a lot of things that trainers and owners can learn, and maybe, hey, as an owner, I don't want to pressure Tony, or maybe I need to pressure Tony, or maybe Tony needs to do this and that. So it's all things of, hey, let's just have a good experience. And I think that was a pretty good experience.
It was a fantastic experience, just making the Hambletonian. Because I remember, as a kid even, and every year I never missed watching the Hambletonian on TV. For me, it's the Kentucky Derby for the trotting set. So I always watched the races, and I was like, wow, wouldn't it be cool to have a horse? So just having a horse in the race, and then we made the final. Right.
So you make the final, and you drew well. You drew the inside.
We drew well.
And how about so? On a side note, I met you that year because I was trying out the head camera.
Yes.
And so I was like, Tony's like, let's put it on. And we went to the farm and we did a test run, and you were there. And
I remember that. Yeah.
Nothing seemed to bother Pilot. So
No.
he was, rock and roll with it. And
Absolutely.
from my point of view, I was like, oh, this horse is going to be right in the middle of, and he's probably going to be sitting second or sitting third, or second over. He's gonna, he's gonna try to work out a trip behind Green Shoe or Chimpanzee or one of those horses, and I'm gonna get great footage. And then Andy sends him to the front, and I'm like, I can't, like, it's good footage.
Yeah.
But I'm like, can we get a horse in front of him, but you're probably elated. You're like, my horse is on the lead in the Hambletonian.
At the half, we were at the lead.
Halfway, and you're probably
I was screaming.
You're probably screaming like, at this point, this is, this is probably the best experience of my life. Right?
Oh, absolutely. And all the way into the stretch, and even in the stretch, he hung in, and then obviously, near the end, he gave in a little bit.
Forbidden Trade came
on the outside, and Green Shoe, and everything else. But just being in it was a fantastic experience.
I mean, and you weren't that far back, so it was just like, he was just, I mean, it's a tough day for all those horses.
And he had a good year. He won the finals of the Good Times up in Canada, and then we just missed literally by a head in the Canadian Derby, the Trotting Classic up in Canada, the Green Manalishi. Green Manalishi had about a 3-length lead coming into the stretch, and Pilot just was flying at the end. Probably needed about 50 feet more, and he would have taken him. So that was exciting, and so it was a good year.